Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and to the ranking member for holding this hearing today. And thank you, Administrator Guzman, for appearing before us. This has been an interesting, entertaining comments that I've heard from some of my colleagues, but to say that the president's proposed tax plan doesn't negatively affect small businesses is just it's completely not only disingenuous, but dishonest. To believe that small businesses don't get a pass-through cost from large businesses, or that small businesses aren't paying more as a direct result of this administration's war on the oil and gas industry, it's not only naive, but it's completely dishonest and it's completely wrong. But it's been entertaining. Before I begin, I wanted to thank you, Administrator Guzman, for coming to visit Texas 24 earlier this year to hear directly from our businesses and their current challenges. If you recall, one of the restaurant owners, she highlighted exactly how difficult it was right now. And this is, I think you heard from almost everybody at that table, to find labor that was willing to work and not only leave, and not just leave after a few days on the job or demand a wage that would bankrupt them. I think you also heard from one of our local home builders who discussed just how costly the skyrocketing energy costs have been as they disrupt every single aspect of business. So again, to say that somehow this administration's policies aren't affecting small businesses is completely dishonest. But I think we both know that these concerns continue to persist today. And I'm really hoping that you benefited from your time down in District 24 and that you heard these things directly from those business owners. I do want to talk to you about the EIDL program and some of the fraud and direct lending issues that we have seen from SBA. SBA gave out approximately $369 billion in the EIDL program. Within the EIDL program, the OIG identified approximately $84 billion in potentially fraudulent activity associated with direct loans and direct grants from within the program. It's almost 1 out of 4 of the loans were considered fraudulent. And based on that fraud rate, do you think it's best that SBA expand direct lending and other programs?
Thank you so much, Congresswoman, and I appreciated visiting with your businesses and learning about their challenges. So I really appreciate that time that you took with me. With the COVID EIDL program, it is a tale of 2 years in terms of implementation as well. And the 2020 EIDL without controls limited the agency's ability to control for fraud completely. In 2021, thanks to the Economic Aid Act, we were able to then reinstitute our tax reviewing tax documentation from all these businesses, and that has, of course, helped the agency limit fraud, as well as we now again check the Treasury's do not pay list. I think that
I've got a question. I just have a question since you brought it up. Between 2020 and 2021, can you tell me how much money was fraudulently released in 2021?
The IG and GA reports largely address the 2020 funding, and so.
So do we know how much money was fraudulently released in 2021?
The IG is still, monitoring and assessing.
I mean, your statement that all these things happened in 2020, and then you had controls in 2021. How do you know how to compare it if we don't have the 2021 numbers yet?
What I have is that the IG and GAO have been pleased by the controls that we've been implemented, and agree that that will go a long way towards addressing fraud and control.
So the idea is that when we get those numbers, that they're going to be like considerably, substantially lower than in 2020.
That's the expectation from the watchdogs as well as the agency, based on what we are seeing. And keep in mind that.
Do you know when we can expect those numbers to come out?
No, I do not have any assessment on that. So we continue to work with the IG very closely, and as I know he does with you as well, to make sure that you receive that information in a timely manner. But with
and I know we've only got 45 seconds left. Since you're talking about fraud, I also wanted to mention that there's over $100 billion of fraud estimated in various small business relief programs. $100 billion going overseas. To put it plainly, our federal government dollars literally took billions of taxpayer dollars and handed it over to fraudsters who put in minimal effort to obtain those funds. And as you know, this fraud limited the amount of access that well-deserving businesses had to relief. And this is all unacceptable, but Administrator, how does the SBA relief fraud, how do you estimate that will end to sending money outside of the U.S. I mean, it seems like we already had, a quarter of the money going out illegally for the IDO program, and now we're sending hundreds, billions of dollars overseas fraudulently. Tell me how the SBA is going to be handling that in the future.
We have implemented robust fraud controls as well as mitigation, and recently I announced a fraud risk management board to replace the fraud risk management council to ensure that across the whole of agency, across all of our key program offices, we're putting in fraud at the design of programs, as well as ensuring that the controls are strong across the agency. So we feel with these added measures, we can have strong controls for all the funding to be controlled.
Well, I look forward to getting those numbers for 2021 then. Thank you very much. I yield back.